I've never been fond of adding endless things, whether it's cosmetics, whether it's races, whether it's classes, to World of Warcraft. Funnily enough, I believe that the less you have, the simpler things are, the more you get. So it's no surprise that I'm anti-allied races. I've been anti-allied races since Legion when they came out. And I look at it from the perspective of a tree. You've got the strong foundations of the core races, even stuff like the Draenei and the Blood Elves or the Goblins and the Worgen. They have very strong foundations within the game. So they are the root. They are the roots of the tree. But the more allied races you add, the more branches, the more twigs. Everything expands further and further until people don't really see the root of the core of the lore, the core of the story, the core of the races, the core of the cultures within the game. So seeing the Haranir come along in Midnight, it just makes me go, that's not particularly impressive. Same with the Irvin, same with the Drakthir. Because my issue with them is not that they look pretty mundane, pretty boring, and not particularly exciting. My issue with them is they take away from all the other races and the cultures in World of Warcraft. All the lore which has been pre-established and built. And they're added in like a cosmetic. WoW doesn't particularly give insight anymore to why a certain race joins the Horde or why a certain race joins the Alliance. It just seems to be a pick or choose. And with the Haranir, furthermore, what do they offer either faction? Same with the Drakthir. Yes, they are a very powerful race, but beyond that, we don't really see a scope of what they do. We don't see a scope of what they eat, how powerful they actually are, what their contributions to these factions actually are. Because we're not looking at endless heroes all the time. You've got to take into account that within civilizations, there's villages, there's peasants, there's just about everything. So the more races you add in, you've got to look at resources and everything which was the war for Ashenvale. So yeah, I go back to my point. What do these people, or what do these allied races contribute to WoW? Not very much. And I think it's a very shallow approach. A very, very shallow approach. Where are the Lightforged Draenei's outposts except for in Argus when they were released? You see a couple walking around Stormwind, you might get the odd NPC here and there, but other than that, they don't really seem to contribute to the story. The same goes for the High Mountain Taurens, a faction which had a great story in Legion. But now they're pretty much forgotten. You might see the leader, Mayor High Mountain, a couple of times in an expansion, but not really. And that is the issue I have with retail WoW and allied races. They seem to add them in, but they don't really facilitate them. They don't give them the lore, they don't give them the backstory, and they don't tell you in any way, shape, or form how these races differentiate from the others in power, in whatever. How much do they provide a massive military force? I can see that with the Army of the Light, but I can't see that with the Haranir. The customization also for a lot of these races seems to be the main draw point, which shouldn't really be the case. I think it should be the story. I think it should be how they integrate into the societies they choose to. But why would these underground sort of races, or Drakthir even, want to exist within the Horde? And that points to a furthermore issue within WoW storytelling. And that's that they don't really know what to do with these things. They add in all the ingredients in the recipe, but they don't understand what that really means. What you don't get any of these allied races which form factions, which maybe they're bandits, maybe they're thugs. You don't really get an insight into their society beyond the plain Jane, hey, we're here to save the world and we'll help you out for this expansion and then be forgotten about.